you probably know from previous meetings that I connect these ages, these age periods, to certain signs of the zodiac and planets in astrology. I think every period has something to do with the development of one function in us, which is one planet, out of all that we are looking at when we are trying to study a birth chart or then transits and progressions. And let's recap just very quickly to bring ourselves up to date to what I'm going to be sharing today. We started with the moon, the very first infancy period, from birth to the 7th year of the child. And during that talk, I explained why I think this is a very lunar moment in everybody's life, where it's crucial to see where we get with this function, and it mostly depended on other people giving it to us, not so much on the person choosing anything in this stage just yet. Then we moved on to age 7 to 14, and there we were mostly focusing on Saturn. So we had the pair, mother, father, in the phases of the moon and Saturn. And many different things go on during that second period that are directly linked to building an independence, which will then serve as a foundation for the later stages. When we reached age 14 to 21, that was the adolescent period. I told you that I was connecting that very much to the planet Mercury, which then became part of the second pair of planets, Mercury and Uranus. And Uranus was the topic of our last meeting, age 21 to 28. So where are we today? Today, there will be several, usually I select 4 main transits, and I tend to focus on the transits and not that much on the progressions, even though there are some progressions which really affect us, especially in this transition moment between the previous period and today's. So when you are about 28 years old, 27, 28, 29, depending on the personal case, the progressed moon is returning back to the original position of the natal moon. So that makes one full circle around the zodiac, and this is probably the most personal factor, the most personal inner clock that guides the processes of inner adjustment emotionally, physically, in all kinds of ways, especially the first time around it does this whole cycle return. And it's very important. This also falls under the period that we are going to be starting today, end of the previous one, beginning of this one. So it almost coincides with the first Saturn return. The progressed moon and the transiting Saturn, they have this peculiarity about them, that they are 2 completely different things, completely different factors, but they travel together. It takes roughly the same time for the progressed moon in a horoscope, in a chart, to travel one full circle through all the houses and all the signs of the zodiac, as it takes Saturn to do the same thing. So usually around the 30th year, we have them both coming together. Maybe you can see how the foundation we built in the first 14-year period, where we were dealing with Moon and Saturn, now comes to a stage when these 2 factors have been everywhere, seen everything, tasted every experience on every house, and now maybe they can make some conclusions out of that on an inner level with the moon, and on an outer, more social level, to the adaptation to external circumstances, Saturn. So the progressed moon comes back, and Saturn also comes back. Previously, when they were still traveling during these first 30 years, they were not always together, because Saturn every now and then goes retrograde. Not the progressed moon, as this is something that follows a completely different logic. That's not a real thing that we are observing, but with progressions, we are juxtaposing the days after birth with years after birth. So the moon also, even if it wasn't the case, never goes retrograde. So the progressed moon has its very regular pace, 1 degree of the zodiac every month forwards. And then it takes about 27, 28 years to complete the journey. While Saturn is more erratic, it's more like exploring, certain moments of the process, an area of your chart, and then coming back to retrace the steps, maybe to repeat the lessons and see whether things have been understood or really developed in a way. At least that's how I imagine it. But Saturn is a transiting planet, and it's the main character in our talks here because we are following the Saturn cycle 3 times round. So eventually, by the end of this whole series of meetings, we would have been through every single 7-year period of the 12, and that will bring us to age 90, more or less. So we're not going to stop with the end of the Uranian cycle, even though the Uranian cycle is the other one that I'm following and is always at the background of what we're trying to see. This ends at 84, but I will continue, at least this is my plan, a little bit more after 84. And there will be a lot of guesswork there because, first of all, there aren't that many people who live up to that age. But we can see, I hope, through the transits, what we may be expecting that this lesson of the very late years might be when we get to it. But let's go back to where we are today. And I want to begin with the planet, as usual. So which planet? I'm not going to ask you because I actually told you last time what it would be. We're starting a new pair today, a new mini period of 14 years, actually. And this is like part 1 of the next 14 years. And here I'm going to be exploring the juxtaposition between Venus and Neptune. So that's not in any book I have read. It is something that I decided that I've noticed as a pattern, as a tendency, as a connection, and that I personally believe makes sense, and offer it to you for discussion, for exploration. So to me, age 28 to 35 is very Venusian. I believe that this is the time of life for everybody to find out, to in a way spotlight, focus on, not that everything else is not working in the same time, but in various steps of the journey, we have different things stressed out, different things having an accent on them. So I believe here, if everything is to go well and for a person to be developing on schedule and following the logic of the cycles in a way that hopefully will then determine the smoothness of the next period and the next period and so on. If we agree that it makes a lot of sense to look at life as a process instead of some sort of a game of power or desire to constantly be in the same mode of achievement of a particular way and a particular tempo. Every single stage has its own things to work on, to achieve. And here I think the time has come to think about this very personal function we call Venus.